At this time, I'm really pleased to yield 5 minutes to Ms. Scholten of Michigan.
Generally, are recognized for 5 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. I rise today in opposition to H.R. 3632 and in favor of addressing the affordability crisis that is crippling the American dream. Passing this bill would keep costly, outdated power plants running and stick hard-working American families with the bill. There's a lot of bluster here in Washington, so let's break this down. What is happening with this bill? H.R. 3632 gives the federal government the power to force power plants to stay open even when local utilities and state regulators themselves have decided that it makes more sense financially and in terms of efficiency and power to close them. It also requires utilities to give years of notice before closing a power plant, giving bureaucrats in Washington and special interests even more chances to step in and overrule local decisions. When utilities decide to close a power plant, they don't do so on a whim. These decisions come after years of study to make sure that power stays reliable and the bills can stay as low as possible. H.R. 3632 removes that decision-making power, taking it away from the experts and putting it back to bureaucrats in Washington. Instead of trusting local experts, this bill puts decisions in the hands of Washington officials far away from their communities. Utilities are forced to keep running their plants that cost more to operate, and those extra costs are passed on to families and small businesses. Communities should not be told that Washington knows better, especially when the result is more paperwork and especially when the result is higher bills for American families. We're not talking about hypotheticals here, Mr. Speaker. We have seen this happen firsthand back home in West Michigan. We know what happens when the federal government steps in. The J.H. Campbell coal power plant back home in West Michigan was set to close after years of careful planning. I visited the plant. There were just days of coal supply left. They had already had plans for alternative, more efficient power outsourcing to support the grid with a fraction of the size and an even smaller fraction of the pollution and the impact on our environment. Everyone was happy until the Trump administration stepped in and said, no, you're going to reopen, and sent our community scrambling. The plan to close this plant and diffuse the power to other cleaner sources would have saved Michigan families $600 million in their power bills. Instead, those savings disappeared, and hardworking Michiganders are paying more every single month. The president may call the affordability crisis a hoax, but I invite him to come to West Michigan and talk to people who are paying more every single month in their utility bills because of this plan. H.R. 3632 would make this kind of outcome more common. It allows federal officials to keep power plants running for years, even when they cost more, and even when local leaders say it's not the right choice. This is not a balanced energy plan. It's a top-down order that raises costs and ignores systems that already work to keep power reliable and affordable. At a time when families are struggling to pay for groceries, healthcare, and housing, they cannot afford higher energy bills caused by decisions like this from the administration. For that reason, at the appropriate time, I will offer a motion to recommit this bill to the Energy and Commerce Committee. If the House rules allowed, I would have offered a motion with an amendment that does one simple thing. It would stop this bill from taking effect if it raises costs for everyday Americans. Think about that. Wouldn't my Republican colleagues across the aisle agree that we shouldn't be introducing these bills until we know if it raises costs? What are we so afraid of? Allow this amendment. Because if a bill raises electricity costs, It is the wrong bill. I founded the Lowering Cost Caucus here in Congress to fight against policies like this. I ask unanimous consent to insert into the record the text of this amendment. I urge my colleagues to support the motion to recommit, and I yield back.
Without objection,